Let's talk about ad creative, because ad creative is what is going to drive your performance in your paid ad campaigns. Whenever you have a good ad creative, you will notice that your entire performance goes up. And that is what you want. We are living in a time now where it's all about the creative. I can tell you that about 5 or 6 years ago, the way you would have campaigns running is you would use the same creative. You'd have really generic creative, and you would have loads of different ad set combinations set up, different targeting, lookalikes, all kinds of stuff going on. All of that has gone away, as you've seen in my other videos, and it's now about broad targeting and the creative. Now, the creative is what is driving your targeting. So, for example, if you were a car garage and you were selling parts to a Land Rover car, okay, and you run that as an ad, only people that have that car or need that part are going to click on it. Someone with a BMW is not going to click on an ad for a Land Rover part. And so that is kind of how you think about how Meta finds your targeting. The same applies on TikTok and every other channel where you have ad creative driving the targeting and driving the performance. And when you have good ad creative, you get a high CTR. If you've got ad creative that is engaging, your CPMs come down. It's a well-known fact that Meta rewards advertisers who have engaging ads. And a high-performing ad creative means that you have a good CPA or an amazing ROAS. And that's what you really want. So the first question is, how do you come up with good ad creative? How do you know what to actually go and create? So if you go to Google and you type in TikTok Creative Center, you will end up on a landing page that looks like this. And this website has literally so much value for you. So if you go to top products to start with, let's say you are doing perfume, which is the one that's showing here. First of all, you can see how much money is being spent in that category. So you can look at the click-through rate, conversion rate, CPA. Go and have a look at these numbers in your own time. But what I want to show you is that if you click on details, you can actually see the ad creative that is performing well within that product category. And you can break this down by region, by time period, and you get a bunch of insights as well, like what type of audiences are engaging with this type of ad and this product in general. You get the related videos underneath. Then if you go back to inspiration and you go to top ads, this time you can actually just type in keywords for ads or even your competitors, kind of like how Facebook ads library works. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through this creative. Let's just randomly click on this one right here. And you're going to try and analyze what is it in the creative that is working. And you're going to look at some of these metrics right here. So CTR obviously is click-through rate. You can see where the highest click-through rate occurs. And you can reverse engineer the script and what it is that's actually driving people within that niche. So you can also look at conversion rate. You can look at conversions. There's just so much data that you can get from this. And I would go and just look at what your competitors are doing. What are some of the top performing ads on TikTok right now? Because like you saw in one of my other videos, what is working on TikTok is typically working on Meta, even if it's organic. Now, you do need an account on TikTok to view all of this data, so make sure you log in, but go through the top ads, even creative insights, top products. That's where you can start to just get a ton of inspiration. And then another way to do it is to use Reddit. Reddit is a goldmine because on Reddit you have real discussions that are happening. So let's say, for example, that I'm a brand and I'm selling an NAD supplement. It's like an anti-aging supplement that's been trendy right now. And you can see all of the different content right here of people asking questions about the supplement, talking about their experiences. And you could either hire a VA or do it yourself, or even use a tool like Gummy Search that will help you analyze all of the content on Reddit at scale and help you figure out what the messaging should be in your ads. So, for example, explaining the difference between NMN, NR, and NAD. Is it worth taking? What are the benefits? And when you go through this content, you're just going to find people that have been talking about different things, struggles. You can do it by competitor research, and you can take all of this insight and try and figure out, okay, what hook should I come up with in my video ad that is gonna resonate with people that are currently looking for this product on the market? Reddit is an absolute goldmine. And so if you combine that with the stuff I've just showed you on TikTok ads library, already you should start being able to come up with some ideas for your creative. And if you're still struggling, then what I would do is just summarize everything on Reddit and TikTok ads library, plug it into Grok. Grok is one of my favorite LLMs right now. There is so much value from Grok. It's really good at writing human-like content. and just ask Grok to summarize it and come up with some hooks and some concepts for your brand. Now on Meta, there are three main types of creatives that you can run. So you've obviously got video, so like UGC or just general promo stuff. Then you have your static ads, and then you also have carousels. Now, what I try and do in any new brand is have variation between all of the different types of creative. So if I've got one ad set that I'm launching and this is a brand new product, I'm literally going to have two statics, two videos, and a carousel, for example. Or I might do two carousels, two statics, and one video. But the whole point is you want to have variation. And what's important when you are running these ads is that you have the right naming conventions. And the reason why this is important is because if I go into Meta right now, I can create reports that show me what my average click-through rate is by static, by video, by carousel, and then I can break it down even further by what is in that ad. And this becomes really valuable at scale when you want to try and analyze your creative. So for example, let's say I'm doing a UGC ad, I might do something like this. So I might do UGC and then the name of the person that's done it, the product name, and then anything else that would help describe this. Maybe it's like V1, for example. And I would have that naming convention across all of the different ad creatives. I might switch this out to just like video if it's just a standard video, or static. And like I said, once you do this in your ad names, then you can create these reports and really just break down what is working and what isn't. Now, in terms of creating ad content, if it's video, you either go and produce it yourself, you go and find influencers. If you want to find influencers, a really good hack is to do this. So you'd go on Google, and these are what you call search parameters, and you would type in Instagram, for example. Then you do a keyword. So let's just say fashion, because I want to find fashion UGC creators. And what I'm going to do is put fashion UGC and gmail.com. Now, if I literally copy this and search, what this is going to do is pull out all of the creators on Instagram right now who have those keywords, so UGC, fashion, and then gmail.com is obviously their email address. And there are pages and pages of these people, and you can use a Chrome email extractor extension that will pull out these emails, put it into a list, and then start reaching out to these people. And all you've got to do is just play around with this. So you could do something like fashion blogger plus UGC, or you could remove this, and instead of putting UGC, you could literally just write New York, because you want to find creators that are doing fashion blogging in New York, for example. And the key with this is just to keep playing around with it, change the location. You can remove the location, but all you need is the site, then the domain, then a keyword or two keywords, and then gmail.com to find those with an email in the bio. And you can obviously change this to TikTok and do the same on TikTok. So don't go paying for these lists of influencers in these directories, because you can literally find them yourself on here. And there are even ways to narrow this down further where it shows a follower count of say 10,000 or less. The alternative to that is you go and use AI UGC. It's getting better and better by the day. Arcaz is the one that I have always used. I think Arcaz is like extremely effective. Their homepage is a little bit out of date considering how good this has got now, but you can sign up to this. I think it's free. There's like a free trial. And what I like to do is create content that looks like this. So you have pre-recorded content and then someone talking over it on top. That can work extremely well. And then for AI static, I would use Higgsfield.ai. I've used so many AI tools for content creation, but this is definitely the best one. It's the most realistic content I've ever seen. These are some examples right here. And if you look at Higgsfield Soul, which is the best one, you can create very good on-brand content. Like the quality that you can get from this is absolutely insane. You can also get it to hold your products as well. They've also released some video models. I've not really tried the video models as much, but I do believe that they're just as good. So you can basically create like your statics here and then turn those into videos. So there's plenty of tools out there that will help you get this creative that you need. And what I can tell you right now is that across all of the ad accounts that I've been working on for the last 90 days, static is starting to perform better than video. I think what's happening is that there are too many brands that are doing bad AI content, and a lot of consumers are becoming skeptical of whether the creative that they are watching is AI generated. So in my opinion, I think there's a lack of trust that's starting to happen with video creatives, And on top of that, a lot of brands are just going with this generic influencer voice, like your standard UGC creator, which isn't converting as well versus static. That is the trend I'm seeing, but either way, you should have variation here. You should try carousels, static, video, and see what's performing for you rather than just only do static. Now, two important things when you're inside of Ads Manager, and make sure you don't mess this up because this is really important. When you go to create an ad and you add in your creative, let's say I do an image ad right here. So I click on this, then I go to media, and I already have ads in here that are uploaded, but you would obviously click on upload, select your ad. Let's just say that I am doing this random ad right here. So I click on next. Now what you'll see here is that there is the ability to add in creative that fits a 9:16 ratio. You need to ensure that you do this and you don't just use one creative in square format. If you're running ads on all placements, you're going to be doing Instagram stories, IG Reels, basically content within this ratio. And so you have to go and resize this to fit that ratio. Otherwise, you're going to have something that looks like this. It can look terrible, it can look unprofessional. And then another thing, which is very, very important, do not have any of this turned on by default. Meta is the dumbest company in the world, despite how much money they make. And they've decided that when an advertiser uploads creative, they're going to use what they call creative enhancements, which means adding music, changing the text, visual touch-ups, adding overlays. You don't want any of this on your ad creative. It's going to make it look super ugly and it's not going to convert. Like, look at this. This is absolutely terrible. And that is what they are doing to your creative. So make sure all of this is turned off. And that way, you're not going to have any of these silly edits that are going to happen on your ad creative. And then obviously you would click done and you're all good. But those are two things that are super important when you're uploading your ads. Now, another thing when it comes to publishing your ads, you want to use what are called UTMs. And just a quick high-level overview, the easiest way to do it is to use this option down here and click on build a URL parameter. A UTM is basically just parameters. It's a string of text that is within your URL and it makes it easy to track. And by using this, you can basically click on this and dynamically insert your UTMs. So for example, if I go and type in Facebook here, I can do this manually or I can select one of those options. For campaign name, I can literally click on this right here. And what it's going to do is every time someone sees this ad and they click on it, in the URL, it's going to include this and it will enable you to track where people are actually coming from. So when you're in analytic tools like Google Analytics, you can see how many people came from which campaign, which ad set, which ad, which platform. And you can measure the conversion rate, how much time they're spending on the site, how much money they've generated. And this is super valuable. And so I recommend that you are tracking the campaign name. For campaign content, you could just type in the ad name. And then up here, you can select the source. And that will then give you these parameters that will be applied to your ad. And then going forwards, you'll have way more data to analyze, which is super valuable. Okay, so now let's say that you upload a bunch of ads and one of the ads is working and you've created an ad set where you are testing that ad. What you now want to do is you want to start increasing the budget of your ad. And the best way to do that is just incrementally add 20% per day to your ad set, and that will distribute the budget to the ad. The worst thing you can do, in my experience, is say that this video is working well, duplicate it and run it in a campaign with a higher spend. Because as I said at the start, all of the learnings are built up through the ad creative and not the ad set. And so by duplicating this, it's like restarting because you lose all of that momentum. And so I personally would just be scaling this ad set and pushing more spend into that ad creative and push it as hard as you can. Once you've been running your ads for some time, you want to obviously start analyzing how they're going. One tool that you can use is called Motion. It's Motion Creative. And this is quite a common tool right now in agencies and bigger brands where it will analyze your content at scale and it will help you figure out what is working and what's not, what's got potential, where you should double down. And I would actually say that this company in general have some pretty decent insights. I think it's under their resources, under blog. They've got a lot of interviews with other media buyers who are just talking about what you should be looking at with your ad creative, what is working for them, what isn't. There's a ton of good content with these guys. But you can go and sign up. I believe there is a free trial. In terms of pricing, you can pay anywhere from $250 a month to upwards of probably like a couple $1,000s a month. But this is one option to doing the creative reporting. Otherwise, you could literally create a spreadsheet, have the ad name, and then have the following columns that track the following metrics. So CPC, cost per click, CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, CTR, CPA, so whether you're doing cost per lead, cost per purchase, whatever you're optimizing for, and then ROAS as well, if that's applicable. And every time you run the ad creative, you would analyze these metrics right here. You either enter them manually or you can automate it. That is what I would be doing and have done with other brands who don't want to use motion. And then after a while, you'll start to see what is getting a good click-through rate, what is getting a good CPA, what's getting a good ROAS. And this is when you can start doubling down. But it is really important that you are tracking your ad creative on a regular basis. You are looking at what's working, what's not. And you have to be as detailed as like what in the ad or what hook is actually driving the conversion. For example, it might be the fact that you're using a certain color in your static ad, or in the video, it might be that you're using an older person instead of a younger person, or maybe someone who isn't very confident on camera resonates better than your average content creator who's very confident. These are types of things that you want to be looking at when you're running your ads, and you're just trying to constantly identify trends. And then when you find something that's working, just go away and create more variations of that, as well as also trying something completely different. But one of the key things here is that you just try and stay consistent in what you're testing. Focus on what you know is working based on performance. And if you're starting from zero, then the key is just have tons of variation in your creative. And like I said at the start of the video, creative is the driver of success here. The more creative that you test, the better your results will be.